Alice stared at the coat hanging on the coat rack, as if it were a ghost. 3 days had passed since the funeral of Edward, her husband of 25 years, and she still expected to hear the sound of the door opening, followed by that very familiar ritual. The shoes left on the entryway rug, the keys jingling on the hallway table, and the coat being hung on that same hook. The clock on the wall showed 8:43 a.m., the time when Edward would normally return from his daily walk in the park. Alice sat on the edge of the still unmade bed. She didn't have the courage to arrange the sheets where his scent still lingered. The silence of the house was deafening, filled only by the ticking of the antique clock they received at their wedding. His absence had texture, had weight. It was like an invisible presence occupying all the spaces where he would once have been. The emptiness in the kitchen chair, the solitary toothbrush in the bathroom. In the fruit bowl on the table, a solitary apple was beginning to wilt. It was the last one Edward had bought at the market. "An apple a day keeps the doctor away," he used to joke, biting into the fruit with that smile that lit up his face. The irony of that phrase now hurt like salt in an open wound. Alice took a deep breath and decided it was time. She needed to start sorting out his things. Her daughters, Sophia and Megan, had offered to help, but she refused. This was something she needed to do alone. A last moment of intimacy with what remained of her husband. She opened the wardrobe and his smell enveloped her, a mix of aftershave lotion, old books, and that indescribable scent that was uniquely his. Her hands trembled as she took the shirts off the hanger, one by one, folding them carefully as he liked. Each piece of clothing carried a memory. The blue shirt he wore on Sophia's 15th birthday, the green tie, her gift to him last Christmas, the wool sweater his mother had knitted before she passed away. When she reached the brown coat he wore for walks, Alice hugged it against her chest. It still had that smell of moist grass he brought from the park every morning. As she folded it, she felt something heavy in the inner pocket. She slipped her hand in, and her fingers touched something rectangular and cold. A cell phone. It wasn't his smartphone, which was stored in the dresser drawer. This was an older device with a cracked screen. Alice felt a pang of apprehension. Why would Edward have a second phone? In 15 years of marriage she had never suspected anything. They had their problems, of course, like any couple. The daily fatigue, worries about bills and their daughter's college, the silences that had become more frequent in recent years. But another cell phone for what? Was he hiding something from her? No, that never crossed her mind. The phone was turned off. Alice turned it in her hands, examining every detail. There was nothing special about it, a simple, ordinary model with a faded blue cover. She felt a lump forming in her throat. Who did Edward call from that device? Why would he hide it? With trembling hands, she connected the charger to the outlet and waited. After a few minutes, the screen lit up with the manufacturer's logo. Alice held her breath. When she finally unlocked it, there was no password, which surprised her. A series of missed call notifications appeared. All from the same number. Alice sat down, her legs feeling weak. Her mind spun with possibilities. Could it be a lover? A secret child? Gambling debts? Edward had never shown interest in gambling, but who was she to say she knew all his secrets? After all, she never imagined he would have a hidden phone. Alice's hand hovered over the return button. Part of her wanted to throw the phone away, to bury any secrets Edward might have taken to the grave. But another part, stronger, needed to know. After a few seconds of hesitation, she pressed the button and brought the device to her ear. 1, 2, 3 rings. Then an elderly, fragile female voice answered. "Hello? Who is this?" Alice felt her throat go dry. She swallowed hard before managing to say, "My name is Alice. Alice Winters." On the other end of the line there was a pause, followed by a relieved exclamation. "Oh my God! You found my phone! I lost it in the park a few days ago. I was so desperate. I have pictures of my grandchildren that aren't saved anywhere else." Alice felt dizzy with the revelation. It wasn't a secret phone of her husband's. It was a lost phone that he had found. "Edward was the one who found your phone," explained Alice, her voice choked. He was my husband." "Oh, nice to meet you," said the lady on the phone. "I'm an acquaintance of your husband. We meet every day at the park during our walks. I lost my phone and he said he would find it for me. I'm glad he found it." Alice remained silent, trying to digest this new information. Edward had never mentioned this lady. In fact, he rarely talked about his walks in the park, only saying that everything was the same when she asked. "And he passed away," she finally said. "I think it was on the day he found the phone. He had a sudden illness. It was a severe aneurysm after the walk. We found his phone inside his coat just now." The silence was heavy. The lady took a deep breath, visibly shaken. "I am so sorry. Truly. Your husband, he was an incredible man. I saw him every day in the park, always polite, always smiling. He helped carry bags, waited for the elderly to cross. He knew everyone's dogs' names. He was very beloved here. He will be greatly missed." Alice couldn't hold back her tears. That woman, who barely knew him, spoke of her husband with such affection that it made her heart ache. She never imagined he was so special to so many people, that he had left traces of kindness wherever he went. "My name is Dorothy," the lady continued. "I'm 72 years old, and I go to that park every day since my husband passed away 5 years ago. Edward always helped me find a bench in the shade and brought me a glass of water. He knew I have a knee problem." Alice wiped away her tears, feeling a mixture of pride and sadness. Why did Edward never talk about these things? Why did he keep this generous side, which he showed to strangers, to himself? "He talked a lot about you," said Dorothy, surprising Alice. "He showed me pictures of your daughters. He said you worked too much to ensure a good future for the family. He was very proud that the oldest chose medicine." Alice felt her heart tighten. At home they sometimes exchanged few words without many updates. The routine, the fatigue, the children, it all perhaps consumed them every day. But he talked about her to other people, with pride. "Could you give me your address?" Alice asked. "I would like to return your phone in person." The next day, Alice drove to the small apartment complex where Dorothy lived, just a few blocks from the park. The elderly lady, short and with white hair pinned in a bun, welcomed her with a warm hug, as if they were already old friends. "Let's go to the park," Dorothy suggested. "There are people who would like to meet you." Alice accompanied her, walking slowly along the same path Edward took every morning. She remembered all the times he mentioned how he wished she could go with him at least one day, but it never happened. The park was bigger than I had imagined, with a lake in the centre where ducks swam peacefully. There were benches scattered under trees and a walking trail where people of all ages exercised. As they approached a bench under a leafy tree, Alice pointed out the bench he used to sit on to rest. "He liked to come here," said Dorothy, looking around. "He always said the park looked prettier when there were people around." Alice remained silent beside her. Every now and then, he would take a snack to that boy on the hill. Dorothy continued, almost as if thinking out loud. "He helped a lady with a baby stroller once, got all covered in mud, and he used to talk with that gentleman at the fountain. They talked about history, politics, those things I never understood." She sighed with a sad smile. "He didn't do it out of obligation, you know. It was just his way." After that moment, they said goodbye with a hug, where Dorothy, without even knowing her well, wished her a lot of strength because she knew how difficult that moment was. Alice returned home with a greater pain than when she lost him, the pain of not having seen in life who he truly was, the pain of never having said how good he was, the pain of having saved words that were now of no use. As she drove, she thought about how they had drifted apart over the past few years, not for lack of love, but because of routine, exhaustion, and daily concerns. Edward worked as an accountant in a small office, and she as a nurse in alternating shifts. Often, when one arrived, the other was leaving. On weekends, there was the house to clean, shopping to do, bills to pay. When did they stop really talking? When did the questions, "How was your day?" become mere formalities, answered with a simple normal or tiring? That night, sitting alone in the kitchen, Alice let the tears fall freely. In 3 days it would be their wedding anniversary, and she hadn't even remembered. 26 years together, most of her adult life. She picked up a photo of them from the picture frame on the table, an image from when they were young, smiling in front of the first house they bought. Edward's eyes sparkled in that photo, full of hope and love. The same look she had seen in the eyes of the people in the park when they talked about him. "You were amazing," she whispered to the photograph, "and I should have said that more often." At that moment Alice understood, as if in a flash, we don't know what tomorrow holds, and for that reason, we need to love today. We need to praise, admire, and thank every day. Because sometimes we only realize how amazing someone was when they're no longer here. And then all that remains is silence and longing. The next day Alice called her daughters, not just to ask how they were, but to truly listen to them, to tell them she loved them, that she was proud of them. Later she visited her parents, already elderly, and spent the entire afternoon listening to stories she already knew, but pretended to hear for the first time. Over the weekend, she returned to the park. She sat on the bench where Edward used to sit, watching the ducks in the lake, the wind in the leaves, the people walking by. She took out a small journal of Edward's from her pocket, which she had found after sorting through some of his belongings. It was a small notebook in which he used to write about his days, simple details, but with a special outlook on life. And then she began to write on the next blank page. "Today I discovered your secret world, my love. I met the lives you touched, the smiles you inspired, the difference you made. And I promise to continue what you started. I promise not to save love for later. I promise to tell people how important they are while I still can. Because now I understand that life is made of these small moments of connection, these everyday kindnesses that often go unnoticed, but are the true essence of what it means to be alive." Since then, Alice started to live differently. She expressed what she felt, she hugged her daughters more, visited her aging parents more often, and she never saved love for later again. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.